Good morning. Hey, it's me, Robert Phoenix, and we are back for the Astro Weather on 8/2/23. And I hope everybody is having a marvelous day, an absolutely marvelous day. What am I doing here? Yes, use. Being prompted by the technology to use certain things here. Let me see how my mic is doing. I'm going to make sure I've got the right mic. No, I don't. There we go. There we go. Now the mic should be rich and resonant and able to transmit the tones of the day. Uh, Let me just get in here real quick. I have to do one little tweak. I hope everybody is just how are you? How are you? How is everyone doing in this crazy, weird, wonderful world that we are all inhabiting? I can't wait. I'm going to have a great guest on 15 minutes today, and I'm really looking forward to that because we're gonna talk a little RFK. And I don't know if you guys. I'll bring it up again, but I don't know if you saw the interview with RFK, and I don't know why it's like I, he could be RFK too. I mean, obviously he's RFK too, but adding the two on just seems laborious, right? Like I'll just call him RFK. He was on with Jimmy Dore and a wide ranging interview. I got to give RFK some credit because he took hard questions, and Jimmy was gonna kind of put him under the heat lamp when it came to some of the major like talking points and issues that we're all dealing with. Of course, Jimmy loves himself some universal health care, socialized medicine. And RFK just said, look, that's just not going to happen. If I'm going to spend political capital, it's not going to be on that. But there's about a 17-minute video of him down on the border and experiencing the border and talking about what's going on down there. And when you see it, it just hammers home how tone deaf and out of touch, duplicitous, and let's just call for what it is, evil the current administration is in terms of what they're saying about the border, who's at the border, supposedly what they're doing or not doing. And what's interesting, and I'm going to get to the weather. I don't mean to get so political out of the gate, but um, most people on the right, so-called right, have been talking about this for years. And on the left, they'll say, "Well, that's not true. It's a conspiracy. We need to take people in who are more disadvantaged." And the way that RFK is detailing it and breaking it down, if you're on the left or you're a progressive or a Democrat and you're listening to this guy, you're gonna have to kind of look in the mirror. You're gonna have to look in the mirror. And I was on with Nish yesterday, the great Nish, and we talked about this, and we talked about this process, which is happening. Anyway, I'll get into that on the 15 minutes. Let me get into let's get into the show today. Let's talk weather. And let's see. It's going to make sure we get everything copacetic. And hold on. Whoa. See, it's a good thing I checked. The Virgo in me, kicked in. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Mars and Virgo just saved me some extra work. Let's put it that way. Let's bring this back in. Here we go. And Let's cancel that and bring this back into the mix. And we'll do this. And there we go. There's the window of our Astro Weather. 8/2/23. 8/2/23. 8 a.m. The great city of Austin, Texas. Did you know that Austin is a Capricorn city? Did you know that? With a Libra moon. Texas is a double Capricorn state. Trust me, I can feel it. Sun in Capricorn, moon in Capricorn. Kind of tough, kind of flinty. Lots of codes of respect here in Texas. If you do the codes of respect, you're fine. If you don't, Texans don't have a lot of patience. Okay, here we go. The sun has moved into second decan. We're now in Sagittarian decan, or the Sagittarian decan of the Leo sun. So I think it'll be good to talk about the border situation in RFK and his relation with Israel. All very second decan issues. And the sun is moving into a tighter square now with Jupiter. And, and I think that's, when I see that, I'm looking like, that's lazy. That's a lazy energy, a lazy vibe. Who knows? Maybe it's the demons of Mars and Virgo driving me. But I think, look, could there be worse things with a Sun Jupiter square, with taking a day off, or heading to the beach, or figuring out how to lounge around just a little bit more before you head into that all important time where you have to send your kids back to school? Like, that's kind of the energy. I'll tell you what I see with this energy, which isn't just personal. I'm looking at gambling, and I'm looking specifically at the NFL. And the NFL and football in general have a gambling problem now, because the NFL is pretty much legalized gambling. And not just in the pro ranks, but the college ranks. They're having college students, college athletes betting on games. And I feel like we're going to be talking about this over the next couple of days. And the sort of the window that's been opened here. Again, also from the sports angle, we have the U.S. women's national soccer team, who are stinking up the joint. I guess where are they playing? In Australia? Is that where they are? And it's so funny. They tied Portugal, and they were dancing around like they had just won the World Cup. In a lot of ways, that's the Sun Jupiter square. Kind of celebrating. That's the downside of it, right? It's like celebrating something that you're kind of looking at, like, shouldn't you have won the game maybe before you celebrated? It was a tie, right? It was a tie. So this is what's going on with the sun today. It's an overexpansion in a lot of ways too of one's own belief in oneself, right? Keep an eye on that. Just keep an eye on that today. If you are stuck in a rut and a routine, though, the Jupiter Sun square can kind of help you get out of it a little bit. If you can beat the heat, I would say the next couple of days might be a good thing to do. Sometimes it's really okay to lay around and do nothing. But with Mars and Virgo, it makes it a bit more difficult. I was talking about getting things done yesterday, and man, got a lot accomplished. I took my own advice, which is always good if you could take your own advice. And I just got to say, I am really stoked about this new show that we're going to launch here in a couple of weeks on YouTube. And I've been working with creative. It's a whole different approach to anything I've done in terms of not just content, but it's a collaborative effort on a lot of different levels. And there's going to be visuals and all kinds of stuff. I mean, we're working on merch already. So this is what I've been putting my Mars and Virgo into, and it's still trining Jupiter, so you still have some benefit here. So let's put these two together, right? Work get your work done, and then relax and play and chill. Like I think you could, if you could handle that, get it done. Even if you're on vacation and you have to work, just get up early, get it done, so you can relax. If you kind of invert these things, you might miss you might miss an opportunity. And I got to tell you, right now with the employment situation, the employment situation is going to get worse, and you're going to have a lot of really qualified people sitting on the sidelines, employment wise. So with the Mars Jupiter trine, if you even have something like a side hustle, th- do it, right. Like just put your energy into it. This is one of the kind of the damn the torpedo sort of energy, right? Like, well, I don't know what's going to go on with the world. We got the CBDCs and we got climate lockdowns and we have a bleeding border. All that stuff is going to be there regardless of whether or not you're accessing your ability to apply some effort in a meaningful way. Okay. It'll pay off. Trust me. We still have this Jupiter trine for the next couple days. So we can stretch that Jupiter trine out to about maybe 15, 16 degrees, starting to separate at that point. So 16 degrees, 2 more days, today, tomorrow, up into the weekend, right? And it starts to move away from Jupiter a little bit. So take advantage of it. Saturn, of course, retrograde motion. It's at 5. It started retrograded at 7. It's kind of moving slow. We're not going to get to 0 until November. This yod is still in play. We talked about that yesterday as well. Venus retrograde, and it's getting close to Black Moon Lilith. For all you people with mother issues out there, watch out for the resurrection of your childhood. And it could come from you, or it could come from your mother. By the way, I got to do a shout out to Irene today. Our dear Irene is in a transitional state, and she's been watching and following the show all the way back in the 2010s. She started to listen on Blog Talk Radio, and she's been along for the ride for the entirety of this experience. And bless her heart and soul, she's getting ready to move on. So I gotta just give a shout out to her, and we'll do a little tribute to one of the longest standing fans here in this little pocket universe of the world. But again, we're dealing with the yod, and remember, with Venus retrograde, why is it my nose always runs when I sit in this position? Anyway, the Venus retrograde is re-examining what you love. Like, what do you love? What are you passionate about? And again, here with the in conjunct with Neptune, we're still dealing with a bit of an existential crisis. And even in relationship, where are you going with the relationship? Where, do you, it's not quite like a Saturn conjunction on Venus, but there is this gnawing sense of doubt, right? Like, are we on the same page? Are we in the same place? Are we on the same timeline? And here we've got, I guess, what, maybe one more day, I think, of the inconjunct with Pluto, and this is where you're not going to rest until you find out the answers to these questions. And the only downside with this, I don't think having the dialogue is bad. I think having the dialogue is good. The challenge with Leo is the dominant I, right? Like I feel, I feel, I feel, I feel. If you're going to have those conversations, I would say work on the we, right? We is important here because we can get lost in the eye of Leo. Just saying. Just saying. Mercury still in square with Uranus. That could I'm sorry, Venus is in square with Uranus, my bad. That could, here's the other thing with that. It's like you could be thinking about having a conversation like that. And then all of a sudden the conversation comes at you. It's like, whoa, I wasn't ready for that. But yeah, I mean, that's the trigger of the yod with Neptune and Pluto. Sometimes things get done without doing anything. And especially, and this has been going on for a while. This is nothing new. I mean, we go back to Venus 18, 19. It's still in the air. It's starting to separate a little bit again. But I also feel like that there could be some interesting healing in relationship, because you got that Venus trine with the true node, and I think there's the potential for win-win. What happens when two people both feel really empowered in a relationship where two people both feel heard and understood, and you clear away, like it's kind of like a storm, and you're going down the road, and some trees have fallen, and you got some branches and stuff, and in order to get them moved out of the way, whoever's in your car is going to have to help you, right? And so you both clear away whatever the obstacle, the obstruction, and then you move on, right? I think that that's a really kind of potent metaphor for today. So don't be afraid to have tough conversations. Just make sure that the we is a big part of it, because with uh, well, not all the Leo, we got Sun and Venus. Everything else is kind of shifted into Virgo. Let's talk about that Mercury at 6 degrees Virgo, so still first decan. The thing with Virgo wants to solve everybody's problems, right? That's just the nature of Virgo. If you're a counselor or an astrologer or somebody in the healing arts, not bad. It's not a bad transit, right? Mercury is still in kind of a wide conjunction with Venus, and it's out front, so everything is kind of analytical. It's that's the one thing about um, how the planets are aligned, because Virgo tends to be very analytical, and Leo not always as analytical. Leo more about feeling and expression. So we have to kind of work through our critical nature, and I don't think it's bad, right? I don't think it's bad, but I think once you do and once you get there, then you're dealing with a completely different technology in terms of relating with people. It's a good day for troubleshooting. Really good day for troubleshooting. Even with Mercury retrograde, what's wrong? Why isn't this working? How do we fix it? Let's go back. We have so much retrograde right now that it feels to me like the sort of the best remedy for just about anything is to just look at what's not working and figure out how to open up the hood and get in there and start moving some things around. I mean, this you with all the retrograde, let me just say, you could get into a very deep and widespread house cleaning. I mean, all these planets represent something, right? How you think, how you relate, your deep commitments, your resources, your spiritual capacity and empathy. They're all on the table right now, and they're all moving in reverse. So the one thing that I will say that does come with Virgo territory is paralysis by analysis. And if you are a person that spends a lot of time really focusing on the minutia of the details, oh, I got a cat outside. Who's that? Today's cat day. I think it's the black cat. I think it's the black cat. I think it's Samba. That's our other new farm cat. She's been around for a while. Anyway, sorry, I just saw this pair of ears sticking up on the other side of the window. I can't see the cat though. That's pretty funny. Anyway, paralysis by analysis. Just watch out for it, and it can be overwhelming. I mean, once you really put the high beams on and you see all this retrograde, it's kind of, oh my god, I'm in the jungle here. Let me get up my machete and start clearing this stuff away. Take your time. If you have to make improvements, just take your time. Don't don't rush. Even though Mars and Virgo wants to get it all done, don't rush. Let's see. We have a Mercury Saturn opposition going on. That's been happening for a couple of days now, and I also think that maybe you want to rethink your relationship with authority with that Mercury Saturn opposition and Mercury retrograde. Are you an order follower? Do you need to follow orders to some degree? Right? Do you have to do it? If you do, then maybe what you do is you kind of reset your relationship with that so that when Mercury moves direct, like, yeah, I'm kind of done with this. May not be the best time to make a change in terms of your occupation or what you're doing to stay in the game here. But it certainly is a very good time to rethink what you're doing and how you may not necessarily be recognized for all the things that you do. The moon is still in Aquarius, and it's still in that full moon phase, and this is a blue moon month. The second blue moon, I think, is always a strange moon and brings with it a lot of unusual experiences. But still, with that Aquarius moon, you're kind of more objective and not necessarily tied into a lot of the drama that comes along with the Leo sun, right? So that's another component for today. Again, we talked about this yesterday. The only challenge with the Aquarian moon is being so detached that you just don't feel anything. Like who cares? Who cares? We have a lot of quote unquote "who cares?" question mark rhetorically in our world these days. All right, let's get into the star of the day. The star of the day. I need to have a little like clip. Today was not an easy day. It really was not that easy of a day. But this person, I think, is incredibly talented and complicated, and that's Peter O'Toole. So today, the great English actor born in 1932, August 2nd in 1932, 6 years older than my mother. So if he hadn't drank so profusely, there's a very good chance that Peter O'Toole could actually still be around today. And his most noteworthy film was Lawrence of Arabia, and of course he was part of a wave of British actors who commanded the stage and screen for a good part of the 20th century. You had him and Richard Harris and Richard Burton and other older actors like John Gielgud and Laurence Olivier. You'd probably throw Robert Shaw into that mix. I mean, these guys were just giants. They were thespians. They were true actors of the guild, right? And they're all a little fruity too. That's the other side of this. So O'Toole was known for his prodigious drinking, which I think is kind of an interesting um, place to try to locate it in his chart. And I'm looking at his chart. I'm going, okay, well, where do we see the kind of the dependence on alcohol in his chart? Like, where's Neptune? What's going on with Neptune? Well, here's what I saw. It's Chiron, and it's at 28 Taurus on his ascendant. And this is a guy that had a hard time being in a body. I've talked about Chiron and Taurus before. A lot of peeps from Gen X have Chiron and Taurus, and it brings with it a lot of very interesting issues. So I think Peter O'Toole is uncomfortable in his own skin, even with the Gemini rising. People have Gemini rising, especially if you're an actor or an actress, as they used to call them. Um, Pretty glib, right, on the ascendant, very facile with the ability to communicate with other people. And here we have all of his fifth house material: Neptune in Virgo, Mercury in Virgo, and even Jupiter in Leo squaring Chiron. And that's where the Neptune square comes into play. And with the fifth house, he's a real actor, right? Like, and even with the true note in Pisces, to me, Leos and Pisces are the best actors. Leo because they love being on the stage, and Pisces because they can be anybody, right? They can just be anybody. They can shapeshift. I think Meryl Streep's a Pisces, isn't she? Pretty sure about that. I'd have to look again. Anyway, maybe she's not. Anyway, so the fifth house, right? Neptune in the fifth house. It's great for acting. Mercury in Virgo, and even the Mercury Neptune conjunction, which is, again, if you're looking at somebody who's a drinker, right, a Mercury Neptune conjunction could make him quite fluid with his speech. But I feel like his challenge with alcohol an addiction. You throw cigarettes in there. It's Chiron. He was not comfortable with himself, and and also it's really weird when you look at that generation and you look at people like Burton and Robert Shaw and a number of these other English actors from that period of time. It was like their birthright to drink. Everybody drank. It wasn't. It was just. It was what you did, right? You drank and you smoked. It was just part of a rite of passage in a lot of ways. He's also quite interesting with the Venus Mars conjunction because there are times when Peter O'Toole looks very feminine, like very, very feminine. He's got very refined features and he has that kind of unisexuality with how he presents himself. And even in his probably greatest role as Lawrence of Arabia, T.E. Lawrence, he exhibits that. Like he has that Mars warrior that concocts his plan to basically do something so outside the box that the opposing forces, who I believe are the Turks, don't even know he's coming. Right? Like they take this. This is Lawrence, not O'Toole. They take this, really, really rugged overland route with deserts and mountains because they want to be able to get the advantage, and they do. And he portrays that actually quite well in this movie. But there's also another side of him in this movie where, like, he winds up like falling in love with, a Muslim, right? And so there's this weird kind of Venus Mars thing getting played out in his chart. And I would say there's probably a really good chance that Peter O'Toole was either gay or bisexual. Not that it really matters, right? But you can see this in his chart. And a lot of it, kind of yachted off here because everybody realized and knew that Peter O'Toole was one of the great actors of his time. Like that's Saturn on the midheaven. Like he became known for his ability to, like he's one of those guys that could read the telephone book and you'd sit there and go, wow, that's fucking great. But what's driving him are all these planets that are yachted off. And I would say probably a father that was very demanding and not really good enough. Like Peter O'Toole probably wasn't good enough in his father's eyes. That's how I would break this down. He's also rebellious with the Saturn Uranus square. And some could make a case that even though he was such a great actor, you could make a case that he might have squandered his talent. And the films that he chose, while critically acclaimed in many regards, not all of them were commercial successes. Now, Lawrence of Arabia was. And I think he was going through that, if I'm not mistaken, I think that was the early 60s. He might have been going through Lawrence of Arabia during his Saturn return. I'd have to look that up. If not, I guarantee you it was probably close to his true note. Let me see when that came out. Now you got me. Now you got me thinking. Let me do this. I need to be. Mars is in Virgo. You need to be exact, or at least as close as you can. 1962. Absolutely. Where was Saturn? Saturn was in Aquarius. 1962. Right there. So in a lot of ways, you could make a case that his film career, the pinnacle, is Lawrence of Arabia. And in 1962, he's going through his Saturn return, right? He's 30 years old. So there you go. I mean, there's some astrology in action. And that true note in Pisces. Man, good actor, love to drink. Sun Moon conjunction. Let's talk a little bit about that. It's not a new moon. It is balsamic. And I think there's probably, if you were to sit down, it's always interesting to watch interviews of these great English actors. Like Richard Burton he's a Scorpio, right? He's moribund. That's the word I would use with Richard Burton. He's moribund and he's intense. and has all this gravitas. But you get a sense that if you said the wrong thing or came at Burton in a direction that he wasn't comfortable with, it wouldn't be pleasant. Right. You got that with him. Robert Shaw, just an angry young man. You just felt like his, kind of the force of nature behind Shaw. Peter O'Toole comes off very happy when he does a lot of these, because most of the time they're smashed. You could throw Oliver Reed in that mix too. They're all smashed. So he comes off quite happy in a lot of ways, but there's also an underlying sadness, I think, to Peter O'Toole. And even though he's kind of giddy and drunk, there's something like I get the sense with Peter O'Toole that he realizes that it's all passing, right? And he's like, fuck it, let's party, let's have a good time. But um it doesn't take away from the fact that there is a sadness, I think, when you really kind of look at him and kind of get a sense as to what's going on underneath him. And he can be ebullient, he can be the life of the party. But with that balsamic moon, I wonder if he, at the end of his life, whether or not he left anything on the table. His daughter, I think, has written about him and life with Peter O'Toole, which I'm sure was very interesting, right? But I would say, by and large, the guy was a success. He was a success, and the pinnacle really is Lawrence of Arabia hitting that mark on his Saturn return. And ladies and gentlemen, that is your star of the day, Peter O'Toole. All right. And we're back. So please join me over on 15 Minutes of Flame. We're going to be talking about RFK. I got a great special guest today, by the way, mystery guest. Remember what was that board game Mystery Date? Mystery Date. Mystery Date. That's what we got over on 15 Minutes. We got a mystery date. Please join us. Let's talk a little bit. That's 15 Minutes of Flame, OV Flame. 15 minutes, FIFTEEN. The address. True Hemp Science, our one and only sponsor. If you go to truehempscience.com and peruse all of their fine CBD products, what will you get? Well, you'll get an array of products that are specifically crafted for certain things, right? This is what sets Chris and True Hemp Science. It's True Hemp Science, like it's in the name. He's a mad scientist, and he's worked on these elixirs. He's worked on these elixirs, and the elixirs are specifically crafted for your cellular structure, your joints, lubricating your internal organs. Also, he's got stuff like sleep gummies and the moon dust gummies, which, man, the moon dust gummies are so good. They're so good. And he's just great at what he does. So if you go over there, truehempscience.com, and you spend $100 or more, type in 15MINS, 15MINS, and you'll get free goodies with all your product, right? $150 gets you free shipping and always a 30-day money-back guarantee. And the cool thing is if you want to make an appointment with him and have a consultation about the products, you can go to his website and make an appointment to do that. All right. I want to thank everybody for being here. Mods, thank you for doing what you do. Chataria, big hug and much love. It's Leo. Remember, it's Cat Month. It is Cat Month. Don't forget it. It's Cat Month. And that's it. Thanks for being here. Use your head in order to discern what's real, your heart, to stay up what's possible. I'm Robert Phoenix. I'll see you guys hopefully on 15 minutes. And if not, tomorrow, right back here on Astro Weather. Take care. Bye for now.